Okay, so in this video, our objectives are to create a basic motion tween, which is an animation style that is heavily used in modern animation, and we're also going to take a closer look at frames and layers. Also, some terms that we're going to come across that you'll need to know for later on are tween and what is a symbol. In this video, we're going to go over a different kind of animation than the last one, which is really the power of Flash animation. So we're going to start an ActionScript 3.0, and we're going to save this right away, File, Save As, and we're going to save this in our Chapter A folder as basic tween.fla. So hit save. Okay. So what we'll do first is set up the stage area here. We've got the fine size on here. I'm just going to change the stage color to something pale that we're going to have some animated objects moving around on top of. So what I'm going to have you do is go to the oval tool, click on that, and then what we can do is choose a fill color for this. What I've got is I've got my stroke turned off. You can do that from this icon at the top right. So you can pick your color here, and then what I want you to do is draw a circle holding Shift, which makes a perfect circle at the top left hand side. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an animation where it starts here and then it moves all the way into the bottom right position. So doing that as a frame by frame is really inefficient when Flash lets us do something fairly simple. So what we need to do first is turn this into a symbol. Right now it's a bitmap image that cannot be moved. So what we're going to do is go to Modify, Convert to Symbol. And there are a few different kinds here, movie clip, button, graphic. So we'll get into these later. We'll leave this one as a graphic because it's just a picture, and then this one will be circle 1. We can click on OK. And you'll see that it turned into a symbol because it has this selection box around it. And what we can do on the timeline now is click on frame 1. We're going to hold Control and click on it, and what we're going to do is we're going to do the first option here, which is Create Motion Tween. So what this does, and you'll notice that it has this sort of pale blue color, whereas before we had gray. So what we're going to do is use this Motion Tween, go to the last frame, so frame 1, you're going to go to frame 24, and the reason it's 24 is because that is what our frame rate is right now. Frames per second is 24, so it gave us 1 second of animation. And on this frame, what I want you to do is take our circle and then move it to the bottom right. What you'll notice here is there's a little dot indicating that there's an additional keyframe, and we can scrub back and forth. And because we've said create a motion tween, Flash will do the animation in between this. So we're going to make a few more layers, and I'll make sure that I name these so I remember which one's which. So circle 1, and we're going to make some extras. Circle 2 on layer 2, circle 3 on layer 3, circle 4 on layer 4. So now on the circle 2 layer, what you're going to do is you're going to do another oval, and for the fill color what we'll do is we'll pick one of these gradients down here at the bottom. So I'll pick the green gradient. I'll do this at the top right, and then I'm going to select it, convert to symbol, and it should have graphics still recorded here as the last used type. So circle 2, click on OK, and then on the timeline we'll do the same thing that we did before. control click, create a motion tween, and then move to the last frame and drag this to the bottom left. So take a second now, pause the video, and on circles 3 and 4, create circles that show up in the bottom left and bottom right, one layer each, and have them tween to the opposite corner. So now, as you can see, I've got 4 circles, and then here's the animation that I have right now. They cross in the center and then go to their respective corners. We'll do a little bit of cleanup here. I'll go back to frame 1, and what we'll try and do is we'll try and, even though these are different sizes, we can kind of line them up so that they're in the 4 corners. So as I drag this around, what you're going to see is these little dotted lines start appearing when it lines up with various pieces of other objects that I've got on the stage. So what I'm going to have you do is, if we'll go to the top left, what we're going to do is we're going to place this, if you can, exactly in the top left. You can see that you might need to drag it out and then pull it back. And you'll see that it's in the top left when you get this little 2 dotted lines indicating that it's touching the edges. I'm going to have you do that to all of the circles. So make sure that they're perfectly in the edges at the beginning frame. Now on the last frame, do the same thing. So we'll make sure that this is exactly in that corner. Because of the snapping, sometimes you have to pull it some distance away and then try again. So I'll drop it here. Good. And we'll get this last one. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to maybe just make sure that this is fitting in window right now. Okay, so they cross exactly in the middle. So we'll take a look at a few other things that we can do. The first thing is, I feel as though this is a little bit on the long side. So what I can do is take the far right edge of any of these tweens and actually drag it out as far as I want it to go. And what it's going to do is it's going to scale the animation. Instead of taking 24 frames, in this case it's going to take 60 frames. So go ahead and drag this out to 60 and then play the animation again, and you'll see that it's much more smooth. The other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to slow down the frame rate so it'll take a little bit longer. So to do that, what you can do is click on the canvas, and right now it's running at 24 frames per second, which is pretty good, but I'm going to turn it down to 12. And then we'll see what my animation does. So turn yours down to 12, and you can see that it is a little bit on the choppy side. Now do not do this, but just to show you as an example, I'm going to move this to 3 frames per second, and it will be incredibly slow. So I'll move it back up to 12. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to want to adjust is the layering. So if you look around the middle frame, you can see circle 4, which is on my top layer, is the top circle that appears. Circle 3, just slightly underneath. Circle 2 is underneath that, and circle 1 is on the bottom. So based on the layering, it determines which one that I see when they move on top of each other. So what I'm going to have you do is rearrange the order of these so that circle 1 is on top, circle 2 is under, and I'm just doing this by clicking and dragging. Circle 3, then circle 4. So we'll rearrange them this way, and you can see that now they combine in a different way at that middle frame. Now the one last thing we'll do here is have a little bit of fun with the motion path. We'll be doing some more work with this later, but what you can do is, with this selected, you can see this green path which shows you where it's going to go. And what I'll have you do is I'm going to have you click on each one and then curve the direction that it is going in. Do 3, go back to the beginning, pull that up, and this one I will pull down. So what we should get is this. Kind of pulling a bunch of different arcs, and then they still end up in their end position. So make sure that you save this before moving on to the next tutorial file. Okay, so our objectives for this video were to create a basic motion tween, which we've done, and to take a closer look at frames and layers. So after having completed this, you should have a file named basic tween with your initials after it.